their screens.
There we go.
Oh, perfect.
All right. One, two, one. All right, so you can see the PowerPoint now, right?
Yep.
All right, guys, welcome everybody to our town hall. This is our first town hall of the new fall quarter. There's a lot of really neat statistics that I'm going to bring you today. That's the first 30 minutes here. And then after those first 30 minutes, we're going to move on to things that are specific to host. So I know that we had 40 people say they're coming. We're sitting at 14 right now. So be it. I'm recording this and we'll make sure that they can get it as well. So here we go. There we go. So this is our agenda, and we're basically just going to start in the first 30 minutes, like I told you. And then after that, we move into our host specific information for the next 45 minutes. So feel free to leave after the first 30 minutes if host itself isn't what you're here for and you're interested in the data. So the first thing I want to say is right now, during the pandemic, we're getting information from so many different sources. That's going to be things like professional associations. It's going to be ownership groups, managers, DMOs, consultants. Right now in the industry, if you're on newsletters, almost all the information you're getting is from ownership groups. And that's dangerous because ownership groups and frontline employees or managers, supervisors, people like me when I was in industry, and people like you if you're in industry, they aren't always looking out for our best interests. So the basics of this is we need to be asking ourselves, who's giving this information and is it reliable or not? A great example is that CNN had a really good story on their headline story was all about our industry, hospitality and tourism. It focused on airlines and hotels and how much difficulty they're having. That was just 4 days ago. But the entire article was written from the perspective of ownership groups. Ownership groups have more money and they're leveraging that power that they have through the money to be in politics, to be in government. And so I just want you to pay a little more attention to where you're getting that information from. The next thing I wanted to show you is we are coming back quite well. And I have lots of data I'm going to show you in the next 25 minutes here about how we're coming back and what things look like. But what comes back first are individual travelers. As you've learned in class, we call a lot of them FITs, frequent independent travelers, FIT. And those are going to come back first. That's not, vacationers are not the biggest part of hospitality and tourism. We rely on the corporate business traveler. And that is not coming back yet. That's again coming back. And when I say beginning, it's not like it all comes back at once. It's going to start coming back in January, February, and March of 2021. That's the expectation. That means we still have a long way to slowly ramp back up. Large events where people maybe come from international places, here they're saying that's going to start in 2021. Now, this comes from Oxford University, the chart I'm showing you right now, but I don't see it coming back in 2021. It takes 5 to 7 years to plan a conference and make it happen. Now, those conferences are being planned, but no one's planning for them in 2021. We just canceled, HFTP did, we're canceling events that were occurring in April and May of next. We're not planning on having international events in Q3. So COVID-19's impacts, some of these look really ugly. COVID-19 was 9 times more damaging to tourism than 9/11. We've currently lost $505 billion in the United States and $8 billion in the state of Washington. We're looking at 3 to 5 years before we get back to where we are. And what that means is right now, the same number of tourists are traveling as we had in 1990. We have the same number of employees as 1990. Basically, the last 30 years of uptick have been wiped out. There's good news in that too. I'm going to get to better news later. The next thing that's really concerning, this is the same thing I presented to the Seatac mayor's office 2 weeks ago, is the hot taxes. Hot taxes are hotel taxes. When people aren't staying in the hotels and the government gets all of their money, their tax revenue doesn't come from every dollar spent. It comes from hotels. So the government is looking at the entire industry now and saying, we have no money coming in, we need to cut. But while event planners and businesses are looking at coming back 1 to 2 years or more. And that's creating a lot of problems for our DMOs. So this isn't only about management work or the jobs that you and I are looking at often in industry. This is also long-term. The government might be making decisions now that affect us for the next 7 to 10 years. Nearly half of all job losses in Washington were in hospitality and tourism. That's actually a good thing for anyone in school right now, not a, and I'm to second. So this shows you that on the left chart is how much money we've lost every single month since COVID started. And as you can see, we're losing less month this year compared to last year, each month that goes on. What that means is that every single month, tourism is going up right now. We're not going down, we're going up. We're way below where we want to be, but we've gone up every single month since late April. We've gone up. The right-hand side shows you how much tax revenue is lost though. This is the government making decisions for us. And that's where the problems are. To show it in another way, this is our recovery tracker. Right now, we saw that huge dip occur in late March and early April, but we've gone straight up since then. We've been going all the way up till, well, now October. Every month is higher. And this goes to show you exactly how that recovery is happening. 40% of Americans are planning to take a trip before the end of this year. That's only a few months away. 64% of Americans are planning to take a trip before the end of winter. That means they've already purchased their tickets. That's what planning means in our industry. They've purchased something. They have at least $1 in the game. Either they made a non-refundable hotel reservation, they purchased a non-refundable airline ticket, whatever it is. So DMOs are now saying, this is, what's good about this is we went straight down in late March. We're only coming back since. All the layoffs, everything that happened to you and our student body, all of that is only looking up. 86% decline in all spending relating to meetings. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the different emphasis areas of hospitality and tourism. So we're going to go through hotels, we're going to go through airlines, we're going to go through lodging, and I'm going to show you how it's affecting each one of these. The MICE industry, which is meetings, incentive, conference, and events, that is the hardest hit sector of any of this. What that means is that if an 80%, 86% decline, there were an enormous number of layoffs. When meetings come back, they're going to need to have an enormous amount of hiring. In the state of Washington, that's probably going to happen in April and May of next year. If you're going to be looking for a job next May, it's a great time to look for a job in hospitality, because here in Seattle, that's when we're doing all of our hiring. And that hiring is going to continue. If you lose, large amounts, if you lose 50% of your workforce, then when things come back, you need to rehire the workforce. And they're not going to be hiring the worst employees that they had that stuck around. They're going to be looking for people like you. So 55% of small businesses are expected to close. We're going to lose 55% of small businesses nationwide. And hospitality, especially restaurants, are the primary sector of this 55%. If you've ever wanted to open a restaurant, then approximately 9 months to 12 months from now is the perfect time to do it, because a lot of restaurants have closed and your competition is going to be way down. So go back to where your information is coming from. Your information, hotels that are hurting. That was not the information who are graduating in months from now. Restaurants, and that's not the information that's getting out. So this is to show you where we're getting hit. The next thing is class hotels, upper upscale. This is the economy. I don't know what just happened there, but what I want you to pay attention to is the economy class. For mid-scale class, they've actually gone up 1.3% during the pandemic. It's gone up. Yes, the Four Seasons and the Fairmont hotels of the world, those are the most powerful ones. That's where CNN wants to go and film their videos from and take data from. But that's not all that exists. The next thing I want to show you is the airline industry. On October 18th, that's only 2 days ago, was the first day since the pandemic started that we had more than 1 million airline passengers. That's awesome. There are more than 1 million people flying on October 18th. Now, the part that's not so awesome is that on that day last year, we had 2.6 million people flying. So that's still a huge hit, but it means we're coming back. Seatac Airport is down 60% for all traffic, but it's far more international hit than domestic still. Right now, Seatac Airport is expanding. We're the 8th largest airport in the United States, and we aren't even in the top 50 for how big our airport is. This downturn has allowed our airport to finish their expansion, to finish building and open, and now they need to hire employees to work in those areas. There's a huge difference between airline and airport. Now, I know almost everybody's heard me say that many times before, but there's a huge difference. And right now, the airlines are not hiring. The airport is. There are 65 jobs posted at the airport this week. That's 65 new jobs at the airport. That's a lot. In below, you can see from statistics that I just pulled from the Port of Seattle today, you can see how many people how hard we've been hit and what our percents down are. International passengers at our airport are down 90% in August. That's really, really bad. At the same time, it means that everyone's already been laid off. When they need somebody, they're going to hire, and they don't necessarily hire who they used to have. The TSA is putting through more people every single day than they did previously. You can look at this, and we just go up and up and up and up. These are the jobs that are at Seatac Airport right now. As you go through these, you're going to see some trends that you would have heard from me before. One of them is the cleanliness jobs. And I don't mean housekeeping like cleaning your own house. This is institutional cleaning. These are some of the higher paying jobs in our industry, and we are training you for them. We have professional certifications for them at Host. These are going to be jobs like Ecolab. The airport has their version of these as well. You've never needed to be cleaner than now. And so those jobs are there. The next thing I'd focus on is Enterprise Rental Car is hiring a lot of new managers. People are driving more than they used to drive. People haven't stopped traveling completely. They've gone on to driving trips instead. Enterprise is doing really well, and you all know how I feel about Enterprise. This is a great opportunity for you to get in management with Enterprise rental cars. As you make your way through those, you're going to see we're still needing to ship products. 250% more cargo has been flown in and out of Seatac Airport than this time last year by the military, by our government. 250% more. There are areas that are really growing for what we do. This is the hotels. This is going to give you an idea of what's being hit. I mean, you can see if ADR is being hit that hard and occupancy is being hit that hard, then RevPAR is obviously going to be hit really hard. But economy properties are down 28%. Luxury properties are down 82%. If you want to get a job right now, you should be looking at the motels. You should be looking at the hotels. You should be looking at a loft or Element or 4 Points. Don't go looking for the Four Seasons and the Fairmont. Room demand is now at 70% of last year. We're at 70%. That means if we sold 100 rooms last year, we're now selling 70. For ownership groups, this is really bad because they're losing money. But for us, this isn't so bad because back in March and April, they laid off 50% of their workforce. Now they're realizing they should have only laid off 20% of their workforce, which means they need to hire 30% of their workforce. And all of that is happening right now. This just brings to light the RevPAR changes, which, yeah, those are really ugly, like I showed you before. Seattle's entire cruising season was canceled. That is $900 million economic impact to us here in Seattle. That's 233 sailings and 600,000 passengers. Sales for summer 2021 are the highest in the history of the cruise line industry. Now, from 2019 to 2020, we were expected to grow at almost 9%. And now we're only growing at 2.5%. And we missed that 1 year. But it still goes to say more reservations are being made for the summer 2021 season than any cruise ship season in the history of Seattle. As anyone who took our cruise line course would have learned and got certified in, Seattle is the home of sales and marketing for the entire global cruise line industry. There are lots of jobs right now in the cruising industry, just not on board the ship. I found this really interesting in the top right. These are Carnival cruise ships that they're closing down permanently, and they're actually taking them apart because they don't think the cruise line industry is going to come back in enough time, and because it costs so much money to upkeep a ship even when it's empty. I think they were probably wrong because those are $2 billion ships, and it looks like we're coming back in 2021. I talked to the Washington Hospitality Association this week. Here in just our state alone, we lost 2.5 million jobs. But see that eating and drinking place employment at the bottom? We have every single month since April, we've been hiring people. In fact, we hired over 1 million people in May and 1 million people in June in food and beverage. That is a lot of people. We're only down 2.5 million right now, even though we dropped 5.4 million all in 1 month in April 2020. What this means is if you're looking to get into a job in food and beverage right now, it's a great time. Another great area is the park system. Tourists are visiting our parks and our leisure resources, and our state is unique. We have 3 national parks. There aren't a whole lot of states that can say that. You can see how many more people we had this summer than any time in the past. We are expecting that to continue in the future. Now, there was a decline overall in the park system of 32%, but that wasn't in Seattle. Seattleites really enjoy going to our park system. So this is the actual unemployment numbers. This is another thing. I know we hear on the news, oh, unemployment's at 7%, 8%, that kind of thing. And it's not exactly like that. We have to look a little deeper. There are a lot of people who are underemployed. And so they're out there looking for a job. They don't count as unemployed, even if they are making less money than the poverty level. The next thing we need to look at is sections. So that would be like our African-American population versus our Caucasian population in the United States. Caucasians are more likely to be employed. And that means we need to work more with those groups to get them into employment situations. If somebody stops looking for a job, they no longer count towards unemployment numbers. One of my favorite things about Highline College is that we are, as a part of our mission, are going to go out and work with the populations that need to get into these jobs, that we need to work with in our community. And that's what this is showing you, is that certain communities need a little bit more assistance right now. Finally, if you're thinking about traveling, I want to say, let's get everyone else traveling, but I want to hold on to our people here in south side of Seattle and don't travel. All medical research says don't. And here are 2 statistics that stood out to me. Well, the first one is from Manisha Jithani, who is a professor of infectious disease at Yale University. That's a reliable source. And she wrote for the Seattle Times just this week that you should not be going far from home. Take a driving trip, stay outdoors. Don't go indoors and don't get on flights. There are 12,000 cases, Seattle-based cases, that COVID was from the airport. from either flying or from working at the airport. 12,000 cases minimum have been identified. The most dangerous thing you can do right now is get on an airplane. That is the research that is out there. And sometimes the research we're hearing, it has certain spins on it. There's people who want to say something or who want something to happen that maybe isn't true. Be very careful who you're believing right now. There are scientists, people like professors of infectious disease at Yale University, the state government for Washington. They have actual data and facts. They have 12,000 confirmed cases from Seattle air travel. Don't get on a plane. Let everyone else do it. We want them to come through. You know, let's stay as cleaning agents so that we're safe. You can see that employment keeps coming up. You can see that in non-host customer service positions, they're already back above where they were. If you wanted to leverage your customer service skills, all those skills that you gain in school, and you wanted to get back into the workforce, there are a lot of positions available in retail right now because it came back so fast. Hospitality and tourism will come back too. There is no other product like hospitality and tourism in the world. We are not like when CDs went away for good, right? And everybody had MP3s. Well, there's no way to have something displace tourism. All right, so that's what I was going to present on data today. And now I'm going to turn it over to, first, we're going to talk about winter quarter 2021. If there's someone on the call who is only interested in what was going on data-wise in Southside Seattle, now is your cue that you can move on. But if you're interested in what's happening in winter quarter 2021, then I'm about to show that.